channel. Now, I'm particularly pleased to introduce this webinar because I think that the AKIS is becoming central in European policies and agricultural and food policies, because the events of these last years have demonstrated that on one hand, we cannot leave to the market the progress and innovation in agriculture, because the markets alone creates a lot of divides. And at the same time, we are in a situation of transition. And so we have seen that in some cases, top-down rules that are not accepted at farm level are rejected. And we are in this situation after the Green Deal of the past legislature. And now we find a situation where climate change is getting really, it's biting agriculture, because farmers are quite aware of what is happening. At the same time, we don't have solutions for it, because the general, let's say, approach in the agricultural field is to stop any progress in the process of, let's say, ecological transition. So I think that knowledge in this regard becomes central, because if we are not able to change the minds, not only of farmers, but also of researchers, of advisors, etc., and to adopt system approaches that take into account of planetary boundaries, approach in the economic field that think or rethink business model, because we cannot use the same business models of the past with, let's say, different types of technologies and different types of agronomic approaches. So if we don't change knowledge, we don't have the necessary transition. So discussing about AKIS is not just to discuss about a specific pattern of administrative implementation of policies, but it's really at the core of agricultural development. And for this reason, I'm very pleased that Maria is with us, and she can also give us an overview of what is happening in Europe and how these AKIS systems are changing in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gianluca. Teresa, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Maria, for giving us this great opportunity to know better the AKIS in European countries. This is, I think this is a very important occasion, because we are at the beginning of a new program period, more challenging, more difficult, unknown in some aspects. So I think the best starting point is to know better I would say our scenario in this time. So this is, I think, a very good opportunity, and thanks again, a good presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again, all the colleagues who are present here. Maria, the floor is yours. You can start. You should turn up the microphone. We cannot hear you properly. For me, I cannot hear.
Also for me.
Yeah. Well, now we have problems. My microphone is on. So earlier you were able to hear me, no? Can you hear me now?
Not so much, I have to say.
Okay. So what shall I do then?
Marcello, if you look in the list,
Sì.
Maria is without volume. Is muted.
Ah, sì?
Guarda.
Apparently she's not.
No, ce ne sono due.
Due, esatto, due.
Ah, okay, two Maria. Okay.
Two Maria. Better than one.
Ah, no. Maria, try to upload, try to go out and re-enter again.
Okay.
Perché quando rientra poi si sente bene.
Sono scomparse tutte e due le Maria? Sì, mi pare di
Sì.
sì. Ok. Eccola, no. Queste sono Marie nostre. Quindi...
Ok, Maria.
Is it better now?
No. Oh.
Oh, Maria, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
now we hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's see how it goes if I share my screen, because that was the issue. Since I share the screen,
Share. Fingers crossed.
So.
Perfect. Okay.
Coming?
Yes.
And you still can hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I will not say anything anymore. I will just move my finger in order to shift to the next slide. Yeah, once again, a very warm good afternoon to all of you. I'm happy that so many of you are here present, and I really hope I can fulfill your expectations. So what I try to present you is the fruit, let's say, of many, many years of work, and has already previous research in build. So it's more or less an update of a previous research as well. And merger also between two projects. So the fundamental work has been done during the I2Connect project. Some of you might even might have participated and have been a member of it, at least heard about it. And this summary and comparison has been part of the modern AKIS, which is the follow-up, let's say, project of I2Connect project. So this is why I say I do it in using results from both projects, and it's a work which has been done together with a number of colleagues, whose name also you might know. It's Seng-Yun, it's Fanos, and it's Andrea, basically. No? Now, what would I like to share with you? After a short introduction with a recall on the basic feature of an AKIS, because this is the basis for the comparison as well. So I would like to remind all of us what is behind and what do we understand when we talk about good quality AKIS. Before then, I start with the comparison of some key features, then specifically go into what different countries have done or plan to do still since the CAP strategic plans have been developed, and a short conclusion. Now, for the first one, I trust that you all are familiar with the AKIS concept. And Gianluca also in his introduction has said that nowadays we have to look into systems. We have to understand who are the various actors that participate in the generation of knowledge, as we understand that knowledge is a precious and a very important resource. so that we need to have structures. We have to understand the actors, the organizations who are involved in the generation, so in the production of knowledge, but also in the use and the transfer of this knowledge. And AKIS, of course, in agriculture and interrelated fields. And that means automatically we have quite a big diversity, a huge diversity of actors whom we have to have in mind. Some are more important, some are less. Also, we have different perspectives, and specifically when it comes to the diagnosis and the comparison, we have to understand these. It's first of all the infrastructural view, which is a very static one. And static means it is a, 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 a view at a certain moment, which, and we have to be aware of, changes. And our view has been in 2022, 2023, and the report for some of the reports are in 2024. So this static view is already several years old. Yeah. And but that's the basis of the comparison. But even from the previous reports, we learned changes happen and they must happen. Yeah. So, and in the static view, in this infrastructural view, we look at the infrastructure of knowledge. That means we look at organizations, at actors, and the way how they are linked. That is, and of course, organizations do not change so fast. So this is why we can have a look at that. Then we look into the functional view, which means we ask the question, what functions do the various actors have to fulfill for a well-performing AKIS? And that's always the idea, that we understand, and we have to have an idea, what is a well-performing AKIS? So they have a well-performing AKIS has to fulfill the functions which, now question is who the various actors want to give to this system. So it's a human-made system, and with the actors who are changing, also the functions may change. Every new actor also changes and interferes into a certain system, and the reshuffling is necessary then. And also functions need to be reallocated perhaps. The process view, here we look into the dynamics, and here we ask ourselves, how does change happen? We have new CAP, and we will have, the preparation of the new CAP is ongoing, and we have to ask ourselves, what implication does it have for the AKIS, for our system, for the networks that have been created in view of the tasks that derive from the strategic plan, of the way how we learn, of the way how we initiate change, on the way how we initiate innovations, and the way how we try to improve practices. And lastly, also, we have to question, how do we learn? So capacities are there, but also which individual organizational capacities are necessary, and also inter-organizational capacities and also systems knowledge is necessary to make the change happen.
No, it doesn't. We can't hear you.
Your voice is... Maria, could you hear us?
She disappeared.
I can hear you.
Yeah, now your voice is again low.
Very low. So what shall I do?
Okay, now it seems
Better?
not so much, I have to say.
I'm really sorry. Actually, it's the first time I use this Google Meet. Usually, I always use Zoom.
Yeah, okay.
Which is very strange. So I never had problems, but at least you can see the presentation.
We can see the presentation, yes, but we cannot hear you properly.
I think it's the mic. The mic.
Now the microphone is off. Try to turn on the microphone, Maria.
Now I use the internal microphone.
Perfectly, now perfectly.
Now it's okay? Fantastic. Okay. So I work without my earphone, so it's fine.
Okay.
I'm happy. Okay. So these are the various perspectives under which we look at the AKIS. Now, when we talk about the comparison, we have to see what is our database. And the database are 30 reports, which have been updated, at least some of them, some are new, in 2021, and again updated in 2024. Yeah, but we also have to say they come from a previous project. Now, why did we do that? We wanted to understand or to get an overview of all the AKIS infrastructure, and specifically, and this is something which we always have to have in mind, the main look, at least at the beginning, was advisory services in mind. And this is also one of the critiques we get. We always focus very much on advisory services. And when you look at the reports, a very big part are advisory services. So we do not, and education as well. Research is far under investigated. Yeah, we take them up, but we do not analyze them as deeply as we do with advisory services. So this is also something we have to have in mind. But this is historically out of the way how the investigation has been set up. But I think it gives, nevertheless, national level AKIS characterization, even and specifically countries with regional structures, they struggled a lot. We also in Germany, and I can also imagine in Italy also, because we have regions where the AKIS systems can be quite different from each other. Spain is the same thing. Huh? So, but at least we try to have a national level AKIS system characterized, and in this way we try to get a thematic representation of all the actors and the main linkages, not all, but the main linkage. In addition, we wanted to describe policy and coordination mechanisms at national level, specifically in the new CAP, when the coordinating bodies had been nominated, who are then responsible for the AKIS at national level. So for them, these AKIS diagnosis and the report are very valuable and helpful. And of course, as I said, we wanted to assess the provision of advisory services. As I said, this report has a longer history. The first one started in 2015 in the Pro-AKIS project. I do not know whether if someone of you also was even participating in that. And the first update, which is one of the first central bases, took place in 2021. And at that time, we had 29 country reports based on the structure and the analysis of the previous one. And we started to do already a comparative analysis report. And we had 2 regional AKIS stakeholder workshops based on this first updated AKIS inventory. The update continues, and the second update was done in 2024. Now we have 30 updates, and we have now added 3 non-European countries, Switzerland, Serbia, and I can't tell you which one right now. And based on this, we also conducted the 2 more regional AKIS stakeholder workshops. That means where we participated the results and we had discussions with regional actors of the various countries. And as I said, everything, specifically the second update and the second comparison, has been done in synergy with the Modern AKIS project. Now, what did we compare? I'm coming now to the core of the presentation. The core features, they orient against the elements of a well-functioning AKIS. And this is first of all the actors. And when we talk about actors, we look into the composition and the diversity of actors and institutions. So the assumption is the more and the more diverse actors are, the probability that an AKIS is more and better functioning if provided also the linkages work well and also functions are well allocated. Yeah? So no one is overburdened and people and the various actors know from it. Then good quality policies, of course, that support the AKIS. And here we have EU level policies. And thanks to the CAP now we have a strong policy in support of the AKIS, but also we have domestic policies. And again, here, these domestic policies are quite different according to the priorities of the countries. So it's not a uniform support for the AKIS. And that comes along, of course, with funds, and the way, the quality of work, which then also can be done. Important, of course, is the coordination. That comes also together if we have a lot of actors. The question is, which arrangements do we have and what mechanisms have been put in place so that also collaboration is facilitated and tasks and functions can be allocated. And finally, the quality of the linkages and interaction. So here we look into the degree of actor interaction. So these are the key features along which then the comparison took place. For the diversity of actors, we did different ways. The one which is at a first glance very complicated, but which, when you have a closer look, demonstrates very nicely the various types and the diversity and the, let's say, the amount of actors which are active in a certain country. Here I have Italy and Serbia, for example. Italy, and perhaps you have to mind the various colors. We have blue ones, the public authorities that are active. We have the green part, which is research and educational organizations. Then we have the brownish part, which are private sector, for-profit organizations, and the third sector, farmer-based organizations. And that's the same in Serbia also. And usually ministries, administrations are always there, be it at national or also the local authority. Yeah. And for research, of course, it depends now from country to country how research is organized. We have universities, we have very often specific research institutions at different levels also, specifically when it comes to countries that have regional ministries or have a federal structure specifically, and which have their own structure also. And then also the way and allocation of responsibilities might be different. Still, and that's the big challenge of coordinating bodies then, that they depend on the willingness of the federal institutions of to get information. Now, I compare now Italy with Serbia, because here we can see Serbia has less different types of actors. Yeah, it's a bit lighter than the Italian one. It might also be, and again, perhaps there is something I want to say. These reports have been established by either groups of researchers or by individual consultants. And each time it is their view. We have realized this because when we had our our regional workshops, some of the participants of the workshop said, but this is not, either we are not included, or this is not true or not. So we also have to have in mind that this is a perception of those who have done the research. So, and now we take a report with, let's say, an individual or the focus of a group. Of course, they tried their best to be as broad and as, let's say, objective as possible, to include whatever is there. But then also we, as the Hohenheim team, then we also had our perception, and we also picked out and found things more or less or important. So whatever we pick out and compared, it's also the result of our perception. Yeah, and someone who has a different perception may see, but this is not my picture of the AKIS of my country. Coming back to the diversity and the comparison, here we have the 30 reports or countries, and we asked ourselves, when we screen the reports, which types of actors are mentioned. And we looked into public authorities, we looked into research and education institutions, into farmer-based organizations, third sector, NGOs, or private companies or entrepreneurs. And you see the first, Belgium, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, and Switzerland here, they are all mentioned. Yeah. In some countries, third sector organizations are less often mentioned, in others, private company. Little mentioned are the red ones, and not at all mentioned are only a few regarding third sector organizations in Denmark, Estonia, Lithuania, and Poland. Yeah, but otherwise we can say almost all are mentioned. So that is just which ones are mentioned. What we can observe is that all three traditional actor categories are in general more visible than others. And here we talk about public authorities, research and education, and farmer-based organizations. So these are the three main actor groups which really are strong represented in the AKIS, in every country actually. But, and this is now also a change which we could observe from the various updates, there is a growing presence of private service providers. Well, we have to say that in some countries, private providers, like in Netherlands and Denmark, had been already present since a very long time. But in some countries, private service providers are becoming increasingly important and contribute to the AKIS. Still, NGOs are quite limited. Still, specifically what we could observe in Eastern and Central Europe. That might also have historical reasons. But what we also can see is that actors have different roles. Usually we can say that private organizations, farmer-based organizations, and NGOs, they increasingly take up roles which traditionally had been associated to research, education, and advisory. So traditionally, in many countries, advisory services was solely done by the state. Now, even according to the EU, this needs to be separated, and this is also why in many countries specific service providing organizations had been created, or increasingly private actors come into the game, still under, in many countries, the accreditation of governments. Now, coming to a specific look regarding the providing of advisory services. And we have in some countries where we have one predominant advisory service provider, and specifically regarding the dominant provider as public organization are in some countries like Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus Island, Latvia, Lithuania, Montenegro, Serbia, and Switzerland. So here I say predominantly. That does not mean the others are not there, but they are less important. Farmer-based organizations are predominant specifically in Austria, in Flanders, in Denmark, Finland, France, Poland, Portugal, Slovenia, and Sweden, and private advisory service in Netherlands and Greece as predominant advisory service. Now, we also have mixes where it was not clear which one is more important or has been mentioned more often than the other. So a mix specifically where we have public and farmer-based organization. This is in Luxembourg, Malta, and Hungary. In Belgium, Wallonia, Czech Republic, and Estonia, so private and public are both more or less of the same importance. And then Germany, Italy, Spain, and Slovakia, here we have the three. So, and this is also regionally different, but we have a lot public, farmer-based, and private mix of advisory service providers. Now, when we come to the AKIS supporting policies, the regulation, and the funds, of course, we have the CAP at EU level, and we have the domestic policy level, of course. And at the CAP level, we have the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, in which the Horizon projects are included and the operational groups. So this is one big source of funding. And then we have the domestic policies. And in various countries, and we could not see any typology or who is more, who has less, but what we could find is that each country has specific research and innovation programs, but also there are private funds for research and development. And that's what I say, according to the priorities of the countries, they add on to the money which they receive from the EU. Specifically, we also have multiple national policies and funds to support AKIS in Western countries specifically. Then we have specifically national policies to support AKIS mainly in research, and which focus on one subsystem, and we have significant funds allocated by private sectors, and this is specifically in Belgium, Ireland, and France. So here we have differences in the way how the various countries allocate their domestic funds. Coming to the coordination. Coordination depends on the political structure of countries. or follows, let's say, the political structure. In more centralized countries, it is easier also to coordinate at national level. In decentralized countries, coordination at national level becomes a bit cumbersome and more difficult. Yeah? And this map shows where AKIS is more centralized, so the green parts, more decentralized AKIS like Spain, Italy, Luxembourg, Germany, and Belgium. No, Luxembourg, not Belgium, Germany, Italy, and Spain. They are more decentralized. And then Switzerland and Austria, they have a tendency of decentralization, but still are more centralized. But most of countries coordinate and manage their AKIS at national level. There are examples, and I saw it in Italy, from Emilia-Romagna, that you have a specific coordinating body in this region. No? Still, in a few countries also, as I said, regional governments are responsible to govern their AKIS, specifically when it comes to education, research, and advisory services. Also, we in Germany, in our federal system, education, research, universities, agriculture, all is in the hands of the federal states. We get a few funds from national and still the coordination is at national level. This is what I mentioned, makes it a bit difficult. And we have also regional coordinators in each federal state. There are different models and ways of coordinate the AKIS. There can be a specific authority. So that is a specific unit or a specific body that had been created in order to govern and manage AKIS and related, let's say, activities and tasks to strengthen AKIS and to ensure that knowledge flows and knowledge is being generated. But there also are networks. And in one case, we even have a research organization that is responsible for the coordination of the AKIS. But in the majority, we have these authorities and networks. How do they work? Now, when we talk about managing authorities, like usual, we have on the top a coordinator who is usually at the ministry. And it can be a council or a body that consists of a number of people who is then responsible for the monitoring of the policy, tries to involve any kind of participants, and of course is accountable to AKIS participants. Then you have a body, a part where the administration is being done, so the implementation of the tasks of the policies, the day-to-day work of including people, of disseminating, trying to exchange, and then, of course, at the lower level, the participation in any kind of CAP formation, of communication, mobilization, etc. So, but the organization is rather from top to down. And this happens in quite a number of countries where it has proven to be useful right now, perhaps not in the same way as the Lithuanian example, which is mentioned here. Some are lighter, some are a bit heavy, let's say. I tried, and this is an example of Italy, where exactly in the Veneto region, where the question is who is in the regional AKIS coordination. So here we have the regional coordination bodies, and you see there are a lot of representatives of various directorates and bodies that even form then an AKIS executive committee and who have a technical secretariat in order to coordinate these activities there. Networks, that means by its definition, we have bodies which remain, so none is created additionally. So the existing bodies meet and agree on who has what kind of task and who is a coordinator. And this is the case in Austria, Belgium, in both parts of Belgium, Croatia, Estonia, France, Latvia, Poland, and Sweden. So what we can summarize is coordination mechanisms. That means, how does coordination take place? That could be through the CAP network, and you should really look at or maybe you are aware of the website of the CAP network, where a lot of information is provided and a lot of events take place where they invite in order to exchange knowledge, to facilitate this cooperation, to disseminate knowledge, so that really all the European countries can benefit from what has been created. And there are collaborative working groups, councils, and thematic platforms. SCAR AKIS, for example, of course, is a strategic body for planning and decision making around AKIS. Yeah, so, and they, in regular terms, publish also information. And in the various countries, also, we can have these councils or thematic platforms as well. Now, the next part are the actor interactions. So we have now in an AKIS where we have various types of actors. And these organizations have different, let's say, strategies, how they govern their own organization. But now in the AKIS, we have to come to a common understanding on how to interact. And the quality of an AKIS depends to a large extent to the linkages. So in how far linkages, what type of linkages, and how strong or how, let's say, weak they are. And what we could observe is that there are generally very strong linkages among the advisory service providers, farmer-based organizations, and public authorities. Yeah? And this is by no reason, therefore, for example, I have mentioned in Germany, for example, we have public authorities, farmer-based organizations, and private advisors. They collaborate really strongly together and exchange. A few countries still report linkages among all actor categories. Yeah, still there are, of course, always exceptions, but specifically Czech Republic, Denmark, and France do that. And some countries have weak linkages between research and practice. And here I have to say also Germany has not so strong linkages between farmers and research. So here this is something to improve. But in general, it has been reported that, with the exception of Belgium and Denmark, the other countries have relatively weak linkages with research. And this is also can be seen in the AKIS maps, where the dots are interrupted regarding the linkages. Now, coming to the AKIS intervention strategies, of course, CAP plays a very important role, and there is plans to modernize AKIS across member states with regard to knowledge exchange and dissemination, to enhance the scope and specifically improve the competence of advisors within the AKIS, and co-creation of innovations via the operational group. So these are three strong, let's say, pillars in order to modernize the AKIS across the member states. Now, what is done in the various countries regarding knowledge exchange and dissemination of information? Many countries have set up or enhanced already existing information and dissemination platforms. We recently had also a meeting with the German Association of the Chambers. They said, actually, we have a platform since many, many years. So this was not invented since AKIS became more important. So we had that earlier on. And I trust that in some other countries also that exists. But I think what comes back into people's mind is that these platforms for information exchange among various actors within a country are very important. And they are becoming increasingly important also transnational. Yeah? So we may have these specific hub networks in Ireland where they offer seminars on various topics, yeah, but also the projects which we have. For example, the Modern AKIS project has a platform where praxis abstracts are mentioned, where we can learn a lot of things, how different countries implement certain strategies, what they have done, and so on and so forth. So this is a big treasure, I would say, of knowledge, which really is worthwhile being exploited. So I really advise to go to this AKIS Connect website and to find under the topic Learn and Apply all these precious elements. The same with Attractis. Also here it is a strong, it's a huge platform where a lot of resources are available, and this Attractis platform has been created to really collect and make available various experiences from different projects, from practice around innovation, creation, and various ways of disseminate. Of course, there are events which are organized in order to disseminate and for exchanging information within countries and cross-border. I have mentioned, or I have just picked out this bus trip approach in Emilia-Romagna. This is, by the way, an example which has been uploaded in AKIS Connect. Bavaria organized innovation tours between Bavaria and Austria. And in Modern AKIS, there are these cross-country or only community of practice or cross-country community of practice groups along according to various themes. And in Germany, we have this Bund-Länder-Runde. So this is the national federal round where in regular turns, the federal AKIS responsible meet to exchange. So this is a mechanism for exchanging and disseminating information. So that's the first part. The second one is to enhance the scope and improved competence of advisors. So here the attempt to organize and conduct capacity building event for advisors. So here Austria and Bulgaria, they now have a mandatory requirement for regular training of advisory staff. Like we also have that specifically our private advisors who are accredited, they have to get training once a year, to come to a training in order not to lose their accreditation. In Belgium and Flanders, they have certain professional training on specialized topics. And you may know CECA, a EU-wide certificate for European consultants in rural areas, which is a module-based cross-border networking activities in order to enhance the competencies of advisors. That's one, to increase the competencies, but also to improve transparency and the quality of advisory service. And in Ireland, they have now tender processes in order to select suitable, qualified training providers. And in Lithuania, they have installed a rating system of advisors which are based on farmers' feedback. So, and I'm aware that in the modern AKIS, they are currently also trying to find out about micro-credentials, which also can be used in order to acquire, to do capacity building, and also to motivate people to do that. The third one is everything around the operational groups. So here we try to enhance engagement of innovation support providers in the EIP operational groups. There are conditions for what an operational group can be. Sometimes the conditions are not always fulfilled. So specifically what is it's always difficult to get practice partners. So that is, and also the basic idea of organizational group always is that the idea comes from practice. In many cases, ideas also come from research, because they see also that is an opportunity for us to get involved also in praxis-related research. What needs to be done, or what is on its way, it's the simplification of the procedures in order to implement these projects. There's a lot of paperwork to do, and at the end of the day, the money is not so big you get for operational groups, so that does not make it so attractive. And of course, a big potential now is the CAP network for disseminate and coordinate the collaborations. We know the big from EIP Agri net, which is now summarized in the CAP network, where all the results of the operational groups can be obtained. In summary, and I come to the end, we can observe a growing diversity of actor categories and also their roles. Second, regarding policies, there are to varied degrees of EU and national funding is mobilized. There are strong research and innovation programs that are leveraged for diverse funding sources in some countries, and countries, as I said, are responsible for the way how and for what they allocate the money. We can observe diverse approaches in order to coordinate and what mechanisms are applied, and of course that depends on the degree of the engagement also of the public sector, and there are different models how coordinating bodies operate. And we can observe typically strong linkages among advisory service providers, farmer-based organization, public authorities, and in few countries there are luckily reported strong linkages among all actors, but the linkages are quite diverse. And that's the end of it. If you are interested, so the first one is this summary report from which I take the information mainly. And of course, some of the maps are taken from country reports, like the one from Italy and Serbia, and of course the SCAR AKIS source. Thank you very much, and I hope it was interesting enough so that you could keep on listening.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you for the impressive and insightful presentation. I have to say there are a lot of interesting things that you have raised, which point out the complexity in the analysis of the AKIS systems at European, national, and regional level. Now it's time for questions. So for those of you who have curiosity, questions, the floor is yours. Yes, Stefano Grando, please.
Hello, good evening, and thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. I was wondering, you mentioned policies supporting AKIS. If you raised some evidences or reflections regarding the digitalization process and how this can influence, maybe in both sense, AKIS, what can do for digitalization, and vice versa, how digitalization processes can change the AKIS in various contexts. Thank you.
Actually, I mean, the digitalization strategy started only so there are no, in the reports, we could not find any evidence regarding the digitalization yet. I mean, everyone talks about it and everyone sees it is an opportunity and so on, but what concretely has been done, the reports do not talk about it. Perhaps in the third update, who knows?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. It is interesting.
Other questions? I have a question, if it's possible. Oh, yes. Simona, please.
No, please, go ahead, Marcello. Don't worry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. No, I mean, more comments. Thank you very much, Maria, for this presentation, which is very comprehensive. I just wanted, because many of you knows me because I'm working in Modern AKIS, and there, I must say that we developed more an in-depth framework for the evaluation of the AKIS, especially by deepening the functionalist processual perspectives, and also the transformative path, the transformative perspectives, by including also the capacity-oriented perspectives. So this part, compared to connect these perspectives, have been deepened also by the collaboration of the network of Modern AKIS. So I will share with you, if someone did not read it, the deliverable 1.1 of Modern AKIS, in which we already construct the framework for the evaluation, for the analysis of the AKIS, from the three main perspectives, which were mentioned by Maria, and we went over that also during the project implementation, together with the network of people which are participating to the project, and we are developing also a more exhaustive evaluation framework. And I will show you that. And please go also to the e-learning modules. I will share with you the link to the e-learning modules. We are developing also some tools, a benchmarking tool for the AKIS, and an AKIS Interact tool to assess exactly the interactions within the AKIS actors. The Italian people who are already attending here this meeting, also Marcello, already participated, were interviewed for during the development of this AKIS Interact tool. And so, I mean, a lot of growing, growing material on and perspectives, and I mean, a lot of work ongoing on the evaluation of the AKIS. So I'm happy that a lot of people is today very interested on this point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Simona. I'm really happy that you mentioned that. Yeah. Because it's not something which stops now, because this is a work in progress, and it is enlarging also, because so many aspects need to be investigated in. And I'm fully with you now that specifically the work on the evaluation and benchmarking, because if you want to know how performing is my AKIS, I need means, I need a structure, I need criteria, I need indicators. And what kind of work did we do, and how difficult it is and was to agree on that, and to understand also. It's a big work, yeah, and the coordinating bodies who have to ensure evaluation. So they also need to be trained in order to apply that. And there's another point I wanted to add. In one of the meetings we had, I realized that some people from the ministries, they had a look at AKIS as if it were a project or a program. So AKIS is a mental construct, and I think this is what we always have to have in mind. And as a mental construct, is it something that helps us to not to forget the various actors and link them in a systemic way. Yeah. And not to see, okay, now it's the year of the AKIS and this is what we have to do. Of course, there are strategic plans in order to fulfill, and there are activities in order to improve it. But the AKIS as such is a mental concept.
Thank you. Any other question? Okay. If no other question, I think we can stop here. I would like to give the floor to Gianluca for a final greetings. Gianluca, please.
Thank you very much, Maria. Very insightful, a lot of ideas. And I think that with the group of the AKIS of SIDEA, we really can be inspired to see how to build a research agenda, because we know there are a lot of issues to be addressed. One is, for example, if we can do a normative research or a positive research. So one is just to see how the structure, how the governance work, who are the actors, etc. The other one is what kind of AKIS do we need for specific purposes in different contexts. I think that this is a line of reflection that we really should think about, also in relation with the dynamics of the markets, of the technologies, and of the specific context that we are living. And I'm thinking at this moment, especially in remote rural areas, which are normally not very well connected with the official AKIS. So I also want to thank Marcello and Teresa for organizing, and all the group of AKIS for organizing this. I hope they continue this rhythm of webinars that are very interesting, and they were very participated, because I think we touched kind of a tip of 50 people, which is very good. So congratulations. And with Maria, thank you very much again. We hope to have you with us in other situations. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. 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 Bye.
Carina, carino. Ciao ciao, ciao ciao. Ciao ciao. Ciao a tutti.